Hello everybody, Barbara Drazga here, aka The Deal Diva, full-time Amazon seller and serial entrepreneur. Tonight we are talking about how to get brand owners to say yes. So what negotiating tactics can you use or approaches to communication can you use in order to get brand owners to say yes when you are sourcing wholesale? So one of the number one questions, say one of the top 3 questions I get asked or complaints I hear is, I keep getting turned down when I contact wholesale suppliers. How do I get these suppliers to let me sell their products on Amazon? And my perspective is, and I'm hoping to convince you of this perspective by the end of the webinar, is that it's a good thing when they say no, because that means most sellers are just going to go away. And the ones who persist, like you, and if you're like me, and if you're on this webinar, you as well, is those are the ones who actually get the deals. So again, my name is Barbara Drazga, and you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/dealdiva. I also have a website with a bunch of fun videos and articles that I write when I think of something I want to talk about wholesale sourcing or really anything Amazon related, and that's dealdivawholesale.com. That's DEALDIVA wholesale.com, and there's the Deal Diva mug in case you were wondering why I haven't shown it yet. Woo, and that's my little nickname in this community. So you can go ahead and binge watch me if you feel like it, or read some articles that I've got over there. So we've got the wholesale formula is in full bloom right now, and the enrollment closes in just 2 days. So Thursday, August 16th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. Pay attention to the Eastern time, because I know some people who tried to get in last time, they only opened twice a year, and in January when they opened up for enrollment, some people were disappointed because they didn't pay attention to the time zone, so they lost out. So hopefully those folks got in this time, and you can see all the bonuses that I'm offering, a lot of which are directly related to negotiating with brand owners, to getting brand owners to pick up the phone, answer your email, and say yes and work and deal with you. And tonight I'm going to share some of those things, some of the things that I've learned to do, and that I teach others to do as well. So here we go. So one of the big things that holds us back is fear. We're afraid to take a chance. We're afraid to pick up the phone. We're afraid to get started, right? And I want to give you my perspective on fear. Fear is just an energy. And the flip side of the coin, with fear being on one side and anticipation being on the other side, it's the same energy. So if you flip that coin, that fear you feel, just like getting on a roller coaster, where you're like, I don't want to go, I don't want to go, and then you're, and by the end of it, you get the big smile on your face, you say, let's go again, let's go again. Okay, it's the same energy, fear and anticipation. So when you feel fear, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Where it turns negative is when we let fear stop us from moving forward in our lives and our businesses. Would you guys agree? Go ahead and say something in the chat so I know you can hear me and that you agree. How many of you have ever been stopped by fear? And we know that fear can take on different forms, right? So fear can can manifest as perfectionism. How many of you guys have that? I'll start when it's perfect. I'll do this when I have everything else in line, right? I do that. I catch myself doing that as well. So fear can show up in some really funky ways in our business, can't it? So overcoming fear, I like this image of this cute little baby, by the way, very funny. So overcoming fear is kind of the big step to getting started. But once we realize that fear can be changed into like this cool anticipatory energy and still feel the butterflies, but you know, when you're first falling in love and you first meet this really cool person and you feel that little butterfly in your stomach, part of that is fear, but it's also anticipation and excitement, right? So we can feel the same thing in our business. When we feel that fear, we can use that as an energy that propels us forward instead of holding us back. So that's my take on fear. And so a lot of us are afraid to pick up the phone and call a supplier, right? So I wrote an article last year on negotiating communication skills for introverts. Believe it or not, I am an introvert. Now, an introvert doesn't necessarily mean you're shy or that you don't like people. It just means you don't feel comfortable maybe putting yourself in a situation where you don't know the other person or you're in a large group of people, right? So I know there are a lot of closet introverts. We like working out of our homes. We don't like going out to parties, and we're quite happy just working on our computers, right? So I know there are a lot of them in there because I recognize some of you guys from the Facebook group. So one of the things that I do is I kind of, in order to get on the phone, I'll get myself all like kind of ramped up. Maybe I'll meditate, or I'll get on my treadmill and I'll look at my checklist, right, of things that I want to talk about or ask before I make the call. So you can go to dealdivawholesale.com and just search for introverts in the search box, and you'll see that article there, and you can read the whole article. So when we go to approach a brand owner, there's probably this little voice in the back of our heads, because a lot of us are small sellers, right? A lot of us, I know a lot of you are just getting started selling on Amazon, or just getting started switching to wholesale. You know, you're used to doing retail arbitrage where you can just go to checkout and buy it, or online arbitrage where you just add stuff to your cart and buy it, and you don't actually have to interact with another human being, right? So when we're doing a wholesale, there is some interaction with brand owners. You've got to be able to communicate with brand owners to understand what their problems are, so you can help them solve it in order to get an account. So if you think about it, on the brand owner side, your insecurities might be saying, well, why should they even take a call from little old me? Who am I, right? Well, you are an Amazon brand consultant. As of today, I'm anointing you all Amazon brand consultants. And remember, you don't have to know everything. You just have to know people who can get, you know, things done for you that you don't know how to do. But being a brand consultant in a brand owner's eyes, right? So somebody who understands what a brand needs in their listings on Amazon, that's a valuable skill to have. Would you agree? Okay, so brand owners, they're going to take your call when you present yourself in a professional manner that shows you are there to help them, and you have access to the skills in order to help them. So that is why, get out of your own head, that's why a sales manager or a CEO at a manufacturer will pick up your call. When they see you from your initial communication with them, when they see you as somebody who can represent their business, help them represent their business better. So I'm going to go over the chat. Looks like you guys are pretty active over there. Let me see what kind of questions you have. Okay, so you every day. So we have some introverts in here. Okay, is this live or pre-recorded? Hi, Shakar. I'm live. Now, should you be watching this video after I just answered that, it is pre-recorded, meaning there will be a replay, and I'll email it out. Most people claim live webinar, but just put the old recorded ones. Shankar, today's date, it is 5:09 p.m. Pacific time on August 14th, 2018. And if I had a newspaper to show it, to pick up and show you the date. So I'm a little bit concerned, Shankar, I'm going to call you out here, that your initial reaction to the very first slide of this webinar, 2 slides in, is skepticism. So I'm going to challenge you on that. So now you know it's live because I'm calling you out. Skepticism that, hey, you know what, even if something is pre-recorded, doesn't devalue its content, right? Sometimes you just have to focus on the message and take information out of whatever you're watching so you can apply it to your business. So I don't know, why it's a difference for you between live and pre-recorded, but I'm live. Okay, so Edo says, are we contacting brand owners or suppliers? Yes. So I just use kind of brand owners and suppliers interchangeably. These are companies that you're going to be buying product from to sell on Amazon. Okay, so there are a lot of different kind of interchangeable names for them. You're going to hear me use a couple of different words, same thing. So yes, Shankar is sorry, and she wanted to make sure, or he wanted to make sure I apologize. So even if I were pre-recorded, it's still me. This message is still the same. Okay, no worries. All right, I'm going to get back to the presentation here and just keep going. So WIFM, does everybody know what this is? What's in it for me? So we're asking, why should a brand owner, why should a supplier pick up the phone to talk to you? Well, they don't care about you, right? If you guys are in my bundle masterclass, or if you've heard me do any videos, you know that I'm very big on customer-centric communication. So that means getting out of our own heads and our own desires and wants and needs and focusing on whoever we are communicating with, right? So we want to find out what's important to the receiver of our message, potential receiver to our message? What are their pain points? What are their passions? What do they need help with? And there's only one way to find that out. Does anybody know what that is? So let's pretend that you call up a supplier and you get them on the phone and you have a choice at that moment. And your choice is to start blathering on about, hi, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm this, I'm that. And I can do this and I can do that and I can do this with you. Now, if you noticed, I modeled it in this webinar. I told you a little bit about myself in the beginning, but just a teeny bit to introduce myself. But then I went right into content. I went right into delivering things that will help you, right? So you want to do that with brand owners is you want to find out by asking questions. What do you need? You know, what are your problems with Amazon sellers? And usually what you'll hear is a negative tone about Amazon sellers. They may say something like, oh yeah, Amazon sellers, right? They'll say something and you can just feel them oozing disappointment and upset about Amazon sellers. Well, that is a great opportunity for you to ask them, hey, what have been your experiences with Amazon sellers? Share that with me. And you get them talking about what's important to them. Because in this conversation, that person on the other end of the phone is in the back of their head, whether they know it or not, they're thinking, what is in this conversation for me? What is in this interaction that's taking up my time out of my day? What's in it for me? So you want to find out as quickly as possible where their pain points are in order to answer that question in a fairly obvious way. What's in it for me when they say, we don't like that there's so many Amazon sellers not meeting our MAP pricing. Then right away, how you can answer their problem, how you can answer their question. So you want to look at it every phone call with a customer-centric approach, with the supplier being your customer, right? Where you have to answer the question that's in their head, what's in it for me? Okay, moving on. Be professional. So before you ever get on the phone, you want to kind of have a little checklist, right? A cheat sheet of the different things that you can do, the value propositions that you can do in order to meet whatever needs they have. And by the way, I did a webinar last week on value propositions for wholesale Amazon sellers, and you can find that at dealdiva.wholesale.com. And you'll see it's like the third video down. And interviewed Dan Metters and Eric Lambert from the Wholesale Formula. So we all kind of tossed in ideas. It was really a lot of fun. So go watch that replay. It's up. So you want to be professional. You want to have a company website, right? Simple company website that's got some basics. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. It doesn't have to be a ton of content, right? It can just be very professional and slick looking with, here is the value that we provide to suppliers, to brand owners who are selling on Amazon or want to sell on Amazon, okay? And you want to set yourself apart from other 3P seller, by the way, is third-party seller. That's you and me and all of us who sell on Amazon. By the way, I'm a full-time Amazon seller. I have been since 2015. I start with RA and OA like you guys did, but then I moved into wholesale pretty quickly afterwards because I realized retail arbitrage was not a sustainable business model if I wanted my head not to explode from driving from store to store to store to store to store. And if I ran out of inventory, I'd have to go out and drive from store to store to store to store. Where with wholesale, all I have to do, as I did this morning, was I sent one email to the supplier. I placed an order via email. I created the shipping plan and then mailed him off the labels. And then in the shipping plan, I had Amazon attach my FNSKU labels. So that supplier, not all suppliers do this, but you can work on negotiating that and teaching them how to do it. But my supplier will send my products and send me an invoice tomorrow directly into Amazon. And his facility is really close to an Amazon warehouse and a fulfillment center. And every time I do an order with him, it goes to FTW, all of it. He doesn't have to split any boxes, which is really cool. So compare that to retail arbitrage where you're running from store to store to store. So when I switched to wholesale, my business became much more streamlined, easier, and my income went up because I was leveraging my time better and my resources better. So let me scooch over to the chat, see what kind of questions you guys have. And yes, this is live, unless you're watching the replay. Let's see, thanks for clarification. They will yell at you that they do not need any Amazon sellers. Wow, people yell at you? Yowza, okay. Barbara, touch on a bit what we can offer suppliers as resellers. You know what, in this webinar, we're gonna talk about negotiating and communicating with them to get your foot in the door. Because you don't have an opportunity to offer them anything until your foot is in the door, right? But I recorded that. I did a webinar last week with Dan and Eric just on value propositions. And you can find that again at dealvivawholesale.com. I'll put that in the chat here, www.dealvivawholesale.com. And boom, you can go over there, and it's like the third video down. It says value propositions for Amazon sellers. Go ahead and watch that. Okay, so let's just keep going. Let's go back. So how do you do this? You arm yourself with specific knowledge of how their brand is represented on Amazon before you ever pick up the phone. So I'll look at their listings, not just one of their listings, but I start my wholesale research on Amazon using Jungle Scout, and I'll go into Jungle Scout and I'll set my criteria based on the wholesale formulas criteria for looking for products, and then I'll find a listing for a product that is really selling well and meets my criteria, but the listing is not that great, right? So that's a good opportunity for me to get my foot in the door, to give them a report card, at least on that one listing, telling them how they can optimize it, or how we can help them make it better to sell even more, right? So before I pick up the phone or send my first email to them, I'll first I'll do more research, and I will look for the rest of their products on Amazon to see if it's kind of a catalog issue where their entire catalog is maybe not performing as well as it could because the listings aren't optimized, right? So I'll look for those opportunities of whatever products I can find on Amazon for that brand that can be improved. And then I'll look at their website, and I'll get a feel for their industry. What is their ideal client? What kind of products do they sell? Do they have seasonal, evergreen? Do they have, bring out new products every quarter? What is their industry all about? Are they about toys? Are they a clothing brand, right? And just get a little information about what kind of business and company and market segment they're in, instead of calling cold and saying, I want to I want to buy from you. When you show an interest in who they are and what they're trying to accomplish with their products and their brand, then the conversation has a completely different start. You can say, hey, I noticed that you're in the shoe market, and I really love those sandals that you guys created for sub-Saharan, who knows, right, for Arizona, people who live in Arizona with hot cement where flip-flops melt to the hot cement, and that's true, by the way, right? So I'm just making this up. But then you can show an interest and a basic knowledge of their product. They say, we liked your product so much, we went on Amazon, we took a look at your listings, and we see that you could probably be doing even more sales on Amazon, and there's some things that we can help you improve so that you can sell more. And that opens the conversation, right? So you're not just starting out the conversation with, I'm an Amazon seller, I want to sell your stuff. You see how that's not personal at all? So I want to challenge you to kind of change your mindset to be customer-centric, to be seller-centric. And by seller, I mean the supplier-centric. Okay. So then I'll create a report card of one of their listings, and then I'll communicate the results. Now, I might not hit them cold with an email saying, here's a report card of your listing. I might open up with an email, right? And then offer them in that email, hey, we'd love to provide you with a report card on your listings. Our team is happy to put it together for you. Just email us back and let us know. It's free of charge. We're happy to do it to help you out. And that way you're giving a call for action in your initial introductory email, because what you want to do is start engagement. You want them to engage with you. You want them to initiate some sort of communication back, because that implies a bit of interest. That implies there might be a crack in their demeanor of we're not taking any more Amazon sellers when you approach it differently. And the report card is going to have things, including more things in this, but such as the quantity and the quality of the sellers. So not all sellers are created equal, right? You understand that. So there are not so great sellers on Amazon listings, and maybe, fraudulent activity going on, maybe a bunch of brand new sellers that are clearly, like it says, new seller, and there's a whole bunch of them. That could indicate there's some counterfeit issue going on or something, right? So you want to make them aware of that, and that how many sellers they have. Maybe they have way too many, and they need to cull it back to just the best. The quality of the listing, and I've done videos on listing optimization. Again, you can find them on dealvivawholesale.com. They're free. Go watch them. I've done whole webinars on them. But things like, what kind of photography do they have? Is their main image really compelling? Does it meet Amazon's terms of service? Do they have additional photos, like lifestyle photos and their product in use photos, etc.? And how are the keywords on the listing? I use a tool called Scope from Seller Labs that allows me to click a button and it pulls the keywords that are on the listing, and I'll see how are these keywords performing for them. And are their keywords actually in the title? Is their main keyword, is if that company that I just made up out of my head that selling flip-flops, is the word flip-flop actually in the title of their listing? And you'd be surprised. There are so many listings. I mean, so many products on Amazon, millions and millions and billions, as Carl Sagan might say. There are a lot of products on Amazon whose listings are just awful. Well, that's an opportunity for you to, to come in and offer added value services to those sellers. Which brings me to another point, a little bit off topic, but I want to hit on it anyway. I got an email from a gentleman this afternoon. He said, well, since everybody is jumping on the wholesale wagon, and he was very kind of a fear-based email. He said, that means there's no opportunity for the little sellers, right? And my response to him was, that's absolutely not correct. I just did a webinar last week where we live sourced, where we went into Jungle Scout and we put in just a couple of criteria, and boom, we found half a dozen listings in just like 6-7 minutes. We went to their listings and they were terrible, but the rank was good. They met our criteria and were easily, would be fairly easy, I'm pretty sure, to set up accounts with these because they were in an obscure, like not a well searched category. So I like the business industrial, BIIS it used to be called. I don't go after large brands, and I don't search where everybody else is searching. I don't start with toys like everyone does, right? Like a lot of people do. So I think the opportunity on Amazon is just starting. Last week I saw Amazon is entering, it could have been they started entering it before I saw it, but I saw it in the news that they're entering the gasoline market, gas station. So they're looking, and I think financial services as well. So look at how they're branching out, and they bought Whole Foods last year. So that means there's more potential traffic to your listings, more opportunity for you to have your products being sold in their actual physical gas stations and Whole Foods, right? And who knows what else they have in the works. So people who think that Amazon's tapped out for new sellers you're wrong. I believe you're wrong. In my opinion, you're wrong. Like I said, I'm a full-time Amazon seller, and Amazon more than pays for everything. I'm not hurting. I don't share numbers. I think it's kind of weird it feels weird to like share screenshots of stuff, but I'm doing okay. So, and I recommend other people jump in wholesale because retail arbitrage and OA I just don't think it's sustainable. And private label, although I am kind of going in that area, I'm going to China next month. 80% of what I do is private label, is wholesale and bundles. Private label is a much longer ramp up time, higher commitment, I think higher risk. I definitely think higher risk. But I have this income from wholesale that now I can take a piece of that income and play around with private label without having to worry about losing my shirt, because I'll still have that base of income coming in sustainably from my wholesale accounts. Okay, so you want to add gross monthly sales. Sorry, I got on a tangent that there's so much opportunity on Amazon. And I want you to get your mindset around that. It's not even a drop in a bucket right now. So gross monthly sales, you want to show them how much they're selling on Amazon. Some of them don't even know if sponsored ads are being done or not, because that's an opportunity too. If there are no sponsored ads being done, you can offer that as one of your value add services. So are you guys still on board? I know I'm talking a lot. Or put in the chat, we're here. So I know you're still listening. Okay, so you want to offer them a plan of action. You want to tell them in this report card how they can increase sales and through improvement of their listing, how to use enhanced brand content. Now, as a caveat, you don't need to know how to do all this stuff, right? You just need to know that you can find out that information, or you can outsource to a company who does that solely as a service provider to do it for you on the brand owner's behalf, right? Bundling opportunities, advertising. Maybe some of these suppliers don't understand that they could sell more product if they bundled some of their products together, or bundled it with maybe a product that you're putting together, right? Or products that you provide to them. So show them how much more opportunity is available to their items than what is just showing on Amazon now. Show them how they can potentially sell more on Amazon in different ways. Doing advertising, pay-per-click, Facebook advertising, so off Amazon advertising, Pinterest, Instagram, there's so many ways that you can drive traffic. YouTube videos, you can create YouTube videos on behalf of these clients doing like reviews of their products and driving traffic to their listing. There are so many opportunities for advertising that are off Amazon that are a lot of fun to explore. And like I said, you don't need to know how to do everything. A lot of these value propositions can be outsourced. Your job is to understand what you can offer them and also understand where their listings can be optimized. Okay, so provide added value. So we always want to provide added value with, we can offer them advertising and reporting opportunities. We can show them, we can give them reports on how each of their products is doing. We can help them reduce the number of sellers. We can offer to invest a percentage of your gross income on that listing into pay-per-click. You can offer to provide ad results from reports. So after you do an ad on Amazon, you do some pay-per-click, you can pull the results from that ad to see what kind of keywords are converting to sales, and then provide that to the brand owner. Leverage economies of scale. Okay, so how can you get a better price? Really, that's what this is. So one of the ways that I get a better price is I'll ask for price on a large quantity, but then I'll ask to place a test order for a smaller quantity with the understanding that if the product sells well for me, then I'll reorder regularly. So let me go a little bit deeper on this. So most suppliers will have different tiers of pricing, and some of them call them tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Each supplier has their own name for it, level 1, level 2, level 3. So what they'll give you as a new supplier is their tier 1 or their highest pricing. So when you illustrate that you know they have other tiers, pricing tiers based on the quantity that you order, or the longevity of your account with them, when you let them know that you kind of know how the wizard operates behind the curtain, then they'll say, oh yeah, okay, let us send you the full list. We'll give you the tier, let me send you the list for tier 3 pricing, okay? But you have to communicate that you understand that pretty much all suppliers will have, they'll offer you straight out of the gate probably like 50% keystone pricing, which is 50% off of whatever the retail is. But I never take that price as the price I can get it at. I always assume there is a better price somehow, some way. So one way is to ask for a higher quantity price on the smaller initial order. So you ask for the high quantity price. You say, we'd like to do a test order of this amount. And when we establish that works well, then we'll reorder. Can we please have the quantity, the tier 3 pricing on this small quantity just so we can test it? And then I always keep negotiating on price and terms. So the conversation might go on, we connect some more, I ask more questions, I find out more about what they're trying to do. For instance, they might have a product that's not selling that well, right? And I'll offer to take some of that product if they'll give me tier 3 pricing on my whole order, for example. And I'll always come back around to negotiating better price and better terms. Some other terms you can negotiate are, you can negotiate credit terms. Now, that's usually a little bit further down the line when they know who you are, they've done business with you, but they might hold paper for you. They might give you 30, 60, or 90-day terms. 90 is pretty far out, but 30 days terms is not, 30 or 45 days is not unreasonable. And what that allows you to do is just keep your money in your business longer and allow you to turn product to sell to pay the invoice. You can ask for free shipping, right? That's a kind of a little bit of a no-brainer. You just say, hey, we'd love, if you're not going to give us tier 3 pricing on the small initial test order, will you at least cover shipping for us? We agree to just ship it to us for free so we can try it out. So always keep negotiating on prices and terms. Make sense? You guys still with me? Okay. So ask for terms after you've placed a couple orders. Now here's what happens. One of my suppliers will give me a 3% discount if I send him a check. Who does business by check anymore, right? But he saves 3% on credit card fees. So when I send him a check, my last order was 6 pallets worth, or I paid close to $7,000 for it. And think of the money he saved by not having to pay those credit card fees. He sent me the pallets and I sent him a check. They crossed in the mail. So this is going to help you leverage further price discounts since you're saving them money. So find out ways you can save them money and then maybe split the difference, whatever they're saving, right? Split the difference. So streamlining the process is another thing that you can ask from suppliers. So you can say, will you prep and ship directly to Amazon for me? Now, a lot of them aren't going to understand what that is. But what it means is that they'll polybag your items, or a lot of them, they don't even need to. The items are already prepped and in case packs. And you can just say, hey, look, instead of mailing to us, we're just going to send you shipping labels. Slap that on the box and send it out UPS or FedEx, whatever, whichever one you choose. And you ask them, you guys normally use FedEx, or do you have FedEx that comes to pick up, or do you have UPS that comes to pick up? And when you're creating your shipping plan, just use their preferred provider, right? But you'll still be paying through your Amazon account. And then you just send them, you download those labels and you send them the PDFs. And what I do is I name the file, the name of the supplier, the date, and the shipment number. So I can kind of keep track and make sure that everything works okay. So you just send them the labels, you email it to them, and they slap it on the box and send it to Amazon for you. So now you're saving shipping to the prep company. Make sense? And then you can do case packs. And when you do case packs, Amazon's not going to break up those case packs into different fulfillment centers. They're just going to give you one place to send those case packs, right? One fulfillment center. And you can automate reorders with technology. And I'll touch on that a little bit more. I'll do probably more of a webinar, a larger webinar on how to use technology to automate your reorders. You can also use a virtual assistant. So when you find out what your turn rate is every month or every 45 or 60 days, you can have a technology set up where you have a VA every day looks to see what needs to be reordered, and they place the reorders for you, so you're not actually doing it anymore. And then you can ask your supplier to bundle for you. So I have one supplier who is actually one of my best suppliers, the gentleman I emailed this morning for those 3 SKUs, and they have this chalkboard product, for example. Well, it seems to me that if you're buying a chalkboard, it would be helpful to have chalk. He hadn't thought about that when he sourced the product. So I sent him some chalk. In fact, he helped me source the chalk in China, which is kind of cool. And we put the chalk on the back of one of his containers. So when it came in, it was already at his warehouse. It was already being delivered, so I didn't pay for like shipping from a supplier at his warehouse. And he, without charging me anything extra, which is crazy, but it's based on our relationship. He puts the chalk inside of the chalkboard product for me, and then tells me how many, he's got 100 ready, and I'll send him shipping labels for it. So these are the kinds of relationships that you can develop. Of course, that didn't happen right out of the gate, but as we developed a relationship and we started getting to know each other, and he saw that I was legitimate and that I was helping him, he was happy to help me in whatever way he could. So these are some things that you can work out over time with suppliers. And by the way, I have an exclusive, which is really cool, with that supplier, with that brand owner. So anytime he brings something new to the market, to his market, he tells me about it, and I can send it, and I can create a listing in Amazon to add to the catalog. So here's the thing: most of us never ask, right? So have you ever seen like an interesting person? You're like, wow, that person looks really cool. They're reading this really neat book. They're sitting on a park bench. They're feeding birds, and they've got this like Proust or something really cool book they're reading. You're like, boy, that looks like a really interesting person. I'd love to say hi and get to know them, or at least introduce myself and see what they're all about. It just looks like a really cool person to get to know. And you don't, because you kind of chicken out, or you're fearful. Oh, I might be bothering them, and I shouldn't. And you walk away, and there's always that niggling thought in the back of your head that, well, I just should have taken a chance and said hi. I should have said hi, sat down and asked, how's your day going? So if you don't ask, you don't get. It's that simple. So get into the habit of asking for what you want. And if they say no, that's okay. You've got to have a little bit of a thick skin being an Amazon seller as somebody who's sourcing wholesale, because you're going to get a lot of no's. And just set your expectation that you're going to get a lot of no's, and that's okay. And when they say no, you say, oh, okay, well, thank you, I appreciate that. And how about I do this, or what if we try this? So you just find different ways to communicate to get to a space where both you and the supplier feels like you're getting what you want, right? So if you don't ask, you never get there. So who do you ask? Isn't it frustrating to be on the phone with a supplier and you go through a half an hour of telling your spiel and telling all your value propositions, and you say, so, we'd love to work with you, and we'd like to place our first order. How do we get started? And the guy says, or the girl says, oh, well, I don't actually make that decision. I'm going to have to send you over to my sales manager. So now you got to start over again, right? So identify the decision maker up front. Make sure that who you're talking to is the person that you're actually, can make a decision whether or not they're going to sell to you. You ever walked into a car dealership? How many of you guys have bought a new car or a car at all in the past year? So you're at a car dealership and they use this close. If I got you the price you wanted, then will you buy the car today? That is called an if-then close. And you may not have noticed that they were doing it, but you will now. Next time you go buy a car, they're using an if-then close. And what they're doing is trying to get you to commit to something, because that triggers a psychological, oh, I gave my word. I said I was going to buy it. I said I was going to do this, that you're more likely to follow through. So if you use an if-then close with a supplier, you can say, hey, look, if I can buy 100 units of this today, then would you agree to give me tier 3 pricing? Right? So try using if-then closes. And you want to follow up no matter what the outcome is. Yes, no, we don't want to talk to you. Always follow up with a thank you and give them a little added value piece. So find an article on something related to brand owners' problems on Amazon, right? And you send them the article. Maybe there were a lot of people writing articles when the counterfeiters just descended upon Amazon, right? So there's great content out there that you can say, hey, look, thank you. It was wonderful meeting you today. Let me know when you're ready for us to work together. I'm more than happy to help you out. And oh, by the way, here's an article that might be relevant to your business. So companies selling flip-flops, to stay with the flip-flop analogy, companies selling flip-flops on Amazon are having these challenges with counterfeiters, and here's an article that might help you. Boom. So you're providing a value without asking for anything in response. So you're making it about them and meeting their needs. And that's really powerful when developing relationships. Okay, I'm going to scoot you over to the chat. How you guys doing? Because I'm gonna give you a homework now. What nugget? I know I gave a lot of information, right? I know I gave a lot, but what one nugget, if you just had to choose one, will you implement by tomorrow? Just pick one. And by implement, I mean, it could be learning something new, doing a little bit of study on psychological selling, doing a little bit of study on communication skills, right? What one nugget? Put it in the chat and let me know. Okay. Well, I don't see anybody in the chat, but that's okay because I've got plenty to talk about. So good suggestions. If the gate, here we go. I've got some questions. Let's scooch over. So ask for different tier pricing on the first purchase. Not just the first purchase, Donna. Ask for different tier pricing all the time. Every time you go back and reorder, you say, hey, look, here's our purchase history from you in the past 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, totaling X amount of dollars. How can we get the next level pricing, anticipating that our sales are going to increase and our order amounts will increase, right? So let me scoot you over to the chat here and answer some of your questions. If the gatekeeper is being difficult, passing me on to the decision maker, what would be the best strategy? Okay, so Ido, what I would do is I'd go to LinkedIn and I would do a search for that company's name and sales manager or sales director or CEO or director of sales, something like that. And I would find out who that person's boss is, right? Or I'd find maybe a lateral move. Maybe there's a difference head of sales for B2C versus B2B, business to consumer, business to business, right? So LinkedIn is a great source to find the decision maker. So I would start with the brand name and then put in different titles that I think would handle the sales. And I look for the executive level titles. And then I can work down from there. If I can't get to them, then I can say, well, if that person's not available, who's under him that's handling sales management while he's out of town or whatever. Okay. So overcoming your fear. Yes, Renee, awesome. So just practice that. And here's a great way to practice overcoming your fear. Pick up the phone, or if there's a trade show, even a little bitty one anywhere in your area, go to the trade show and just start talking to suppliers. Just practice. And know that you're going to bomb a couple of times. It's okay. Right out of the gate, you're going to feel weird and awkward. You might not do very well. But every time you start a conversation, you get to practice, right? And sooner or later, as you practice and you get better, it'll be more comfortable and more natural. So just keep doing it. That's how you overcome your fear. So Mubina, same thing. Be more confident when approaching suppliers. My same advice. Ask for different tier pricing, create a report card about a brand, list my value props. Yeah, and if you don't have a website yet, go ahead and create just a simple basic WordPress site. I use GoDaddy to register URLs, and I used Bluehost to host them, and then I just create a WordPress, which is a free platform. I use WordPress to create a basic site, make it look clean and professional, and you can get those done on Upwork or Fiverr or FreeUp. Okay, so Sheila, being ready to ask for better terms. Absolutely. Buying TWF. Thank you, Bill. Yes, the wholesale formula. I'll tell you about my bonuses in a second, but I wanted to make sure I'm answering a ton of questions in here. Being ready to ask by a great tip. I love the idea of switching fear to anticipation. It really is sometimes in our minds, right? By it, I mean what's stopping us. A lot of times it's just non-existent. We make it up. We self-sabotage. And every one of us does it. We're human, right? So every one of us self-sabotages in some way, somehow in our lives. And the way to get past that self-sabotage is really simple. It's one thing. You ready? Self-awareness. So just being aware when you do something to sabotage your future, when you do something to sabotage your business or relationship or anything, just being aware of what you're doing automatically starts changing it, because that awareness changes your reality and you can start making different decisions. Make sense? So Mark is going to dive into dealdivawholesale.com and dive into the resources to open my mind to help receive TWF course more readily, especially the introvert article. Awesome. Yeah, the wholesale formula course content starts on Friday and it's Tuesday now. So you have a good 2.5 days to just kind of get in the right mindset and prepare yourself for receiving new information. And one of my bonus bundles, Mark, is I'll probably do it beginning of next week, maybe Friday. I'll try to do Friday this week, where it's going to be a video on onboarding. So it'll help you kind of get in the right mindset so you can receive and implement the information more quickly. Okay, you're welcome, Renee. Mindfulness. So Shankar, I've noticed that brands started to pre-screen companies asking for wholesale account. They straight away tell me they are not authorizing any third-party sellers. How do you get past that and reach the decision making to get the account open to sell on Amazon? Well, first, like I said, find the decision maker, and LinkedIn is a great place. But second, sourcing wholesale is a numbers game, and you have to set your expectations and have the right perspective about it. So here's what is not going to happen. When you are wholesale sourcing, you are not going to close 100% of accounts. You are not going to close 50%. The more product research you do and company research you do and preparation before contacting them, the more you put into your lead generation device, the more you will close. It really is that different. And you have to set your expectations for, I've just got to put more leads in and find great products and then be really, really good at communicating and negotiating once I find them, right? So don't stop when it gets hard, because you're going to get no's, and you got to get a little bit of a thick skin and just say, okay, assume that this is part of the process and that all it does is give you opportunities to practice laying out your value propositions and connecting with them on a customer-centric level. Make sense? Okay. So Ruth Ann says, you confirmed to me to use, we do this and we can do that. We being better than I. That's right. So I use we. I've started using it all the time. Thank you for bringing that up, Ruth Ann. So what Ruth Ann reminded me of is that I'm a small operation, but I do have people working for me. They're just virtual assistants in another country for the most part, right? So I don't say, I am an Amazon seller and I want to sell your products, because I have a team. I own a company. I own a business. So I want to present myself in a professional manner to them by saying we, as a company, we. And I actually put on my business card, I don't put, just my name, I put that I am the chief acquisition officer, for example, or purchasing manager, right? So before I even contact them, I'm making sure that I'm presenting my company